It's the one place in Las Vegas where continuous growth brings new adventures. Sometimes improvement means putting things back the way they were. We take the sneeze out of allergy season, and there are many more stories at the Springs Preserve where all that matters is what's elemental. Philosophy, mission, and even its very physical design, we've patterned the Springs Preserve after nature itself. That can be challenging because one defining characteristic of nature is that it's ever-changing. Well, now as we enter our 12th year, it's rewarding to look around and consider all that's changed since the beginning. But we're not stopping here. We're in the midst of making several improvements and adding exciting new attractions.
When the Springs started 12 years ago, I don't think the founders envisioned it to be a static place. This is really going to be a living institution. While preserving the history of the state and the city of Las Vegas, we also want to be on the cutting edge of showcasing the latest innovations in sustainable living, environmental design.
The Springs Preserve was never intended to be a one-and-done type of visitor experience. If your only visit was back around the time of our opening, you'd hardly recognize us today. In the ensuing years, we've added several major new attractions.
One of them is the Desert Soul. It's a 750-foot ultra-efficient model home that was built by UNLV students in 2013 as part of the U.S. Department of Energy Solar Decathlon. In 2015, we had two exhibits come online here, Waterworks and Boomtown 1905. Waterworks shows the journey water takes from starting on the slopes of the Colorado Rocky Mountains and makes its way to Las Vegas and eventually to your tap. It's that journey broken down. Another exhibit is Boomtown 1905. We recreated a streetscape of various buildings that were there then, like the Railroad Depot, the Arizona Club, which was a great saloon back in the day. There's also 4 original cottages that were given by the railroad to senior workers to lure them from the comforts of Los Angeles or Salt Lake City and bring their family all the way out to the desert to work on the railroad. We also have a butterfly habitat which allows visitors to walk through an enclosed area with hundreds of butterflies. They learn about the plants that sustain the butterfly as well as how they pollinate. And it's really just a wonderful experience for kids and adults.
We also brought the infamous Mojave Max and some of his closest friends to a brand new home, a 15-acre desert tortoise paradise located along the Exploration Loop Trail. We completed construction of a beautiful picnic area in the historic Cottonwood Grove out on our trails where visitors can relax in the shade of those massive historic trees. We even partnered with the UNLV Design Department to create a new state-of-the-art playground where kids can climb, slide, play musical instruments, and water paint. But the fun won't stop there.
One of the more exciting construction projects we have going is the butterfly-themed splash pad and playground. It's right behind the butterfly habitat area, and it's built for children 3 to 6 years old, and it will include the splash pad, some play equipment, and some chairs with shade.
It will be a chance to merge education and play with lessons on these positive pollinators and the important role butterflies play in our natural environment. In fact, this playground project is supported by the Nevada State Legislature, who recognize the value the Springs Preserve has in providing unique educational experiences for our youngest guests. And in typical Springs Preserve fashion, we plan to take this opportunity and fit it into our everyday mission with a careful eye on sustainability. While the fun may be above ground for the kiddos, we're always conscious of our impact on the environment. So as with much of the water used in the valley, water from the splash pad will be captured, treated, and returned to Lake Mead. The Springs Preserve also continues to evolve with several improvement projects, starting with the replacement of the Origin Museum rotunda floor. And out in our natural area, we're underway with a renovation of our Cienega ponds.
The Meadows Detention Basin, which is a stormwater detention basin, is actually also a habitat for hundreds of birds and plants, and also a wonderful trail goes through this area. Unfortunately, right now, visitors on the trail can't see the channel, water channel, and the ponds because of just the overgrowth that's occurred over the last few years. So we're making some changes to that by lining some of the channels and the ponds with concrete so we can get in there, clear out the overgrown vegetation, make it just a more enjoyable experience for hikers and folks who use the trail.
We'll soon add to our 3.5 miles of trails with a new link from the Cottonwood Grove Ramada to a new attraction created by transforming a historic pump station that was vital for water delivery to Las Vegas 80 years ago.
We have some created ponds under some beautiful woodland trees. We're going to add to that with the trail that meanders across to the historic 1940s era Clark Street pump station. Right now, it's boarded up. But we're planning to clean it out and make it an exhibit so the visitors can go inside, take a look at some of this historic pumping machinery, which is very interesting, actually.
Sometimes growth can be painful, but will lead to great strength. Such will be the case as we begin work later this year on a major improvement project in one of our most popular areas.
So we're here in the Botanical Garden. This is going to be the site of a future construction project. We are going to expand the electrical capacity of the garden. They're going to be digging up the garden. A lot of it involves hand digging. It's a slow-going process.
A process that will close the gardens and butterfly habitat for a year to allow for the most efficient use of construction time.
But by the end, it's going to really be an improvement to the visitor experience, especially outdoor events. So once the upgrades are made, I think it'll be well worth the inconvenience.
Just like nature, we'll never stop growing and evolving in an effort to maintain an ever-increasing interest in this native, all-natural cultural sanctuary. National Geographic's filmmakers and scientists travel across the globe to document their wild discoveries. But you don't have to go far to experience their adventures for yourself. Now at the Springs Preserve, National Geographic presents Earth Explorers. We put you right in the explorer's shoes, from polar regions to the exotic jungle and even the ocean floor. You'll take a journey to the wildest places in the world where you can climb in a genuine off-road vehicle, visit new environments with augmented reality, study animal behavior, and discover new species and more, just like the real National Geographic teams. This rare behind-the-scenes exhibit is at the Springs Preserve only for a limited time. Find it through May 5th at the Origin Museum. Admission is free for members or included in your general admission. Come start your adventure today. As the birthplace of Las Vegas, the Springs Preserve was once a thriving natural habitat teeming with water, plants, and animals. Then, as mankind moved into the valley, they built roads and added infrastructure which changed the ecosystem. But scientists at the Springs Preserve have been working for over a decade to restore some of this habitat to its native landscape.
It's been a thrill, really, to watch the changes. It's obvious, especially from before photos, that we've really made a difference here. It's easy to see, in photos at the beginning when you've got a bare patch of soil, and then even within 1 or 2 years later, you've got a rich, diverse landscape, and then 10, 15 years later, we've got, cottonwood trees that are approaching 40 feet tall, and it's a thrill to see it all come together.
Back in the year 2000, before the Springs Preserve was officially opened, nearly 100 acres of the area was identified as prime land for habitat restoration. The procedure is straightforward: clean up sites disturbed by man, identify and restore soils to their original composition, and install native plants to recreate the former landscape. One shining example of habitat restoration success is the Springs Preserve Cienega, a type of wetland system unique to the American Southwest.
So our Cienega has been a really popular spot on site since we opened. And what we did was we took a water detention basin and we transformed it into a little desert wetland with a nice trail that goes through. It's really great, whether you're bird watching or just seeing other wildlife that kind of come and go in that area.
Lots of detail-oriented work goes into habitat restoration, especially when project leaders are committed to maintaining the integrity of the natural landscape. Even when there's a lot of data to keep up with, specific goals help keep habitat restorers on track.
In some cases, we're restoring for a particular wildlife species or trying to achieve a certain look for the public. We've created some educational landscapes where we wanted to show the public different plant communities that are found in Las Vegas Valley. So that would be our goal, to have a creosote bush community or a cottonwood community, and that would be our objective, and then we would create that.
All that diligent work is paying off in ways that aren't just visible to the eye, but vital to the creatures of our ecosystem. You see, one of the signs of a successful habitat restoration is that wildlife begins to move into the landscape and use it. And at the Springs Preserve, our guests get to witness this success story firsthand.
As they're out on these trails and getting to have these moments where they get to see different animals, it's a good way to kind of have that neat interaction with nature in a controlled setting.
Successful habitat restoration is a win for everyone. For the plants who will return, the animals who now have a place to live, and the Springs Preserve guests who get to enjoy the breathtaking results. So whether your interest is wildlife photography, adding to your birdwatching life list, or just enjoying a walk out on the trails, habitat restoration is an amazing way to visit the past. It's springtime and awesome events are blooming all throughout April and May at the Springs Preserve. First, on Saturday, April 27th, the Springs Preserve transforms into a wonderland, all for our annual Dia del Niño event. Celebrate the magic of childhood through kid-friendly activities including arts and crafts, live entertainment, and face painting. Tickets to this popular event are limited, so order yours today and make memories that will last long after they've grown up. Next is a Springs Preserve experience for guests 21 and older. Time to unwind at the Brews and Blues Festival. Grab your crew and sample a brew or two. We'll have drafts on tap from all around the world with live blues music to keep the night cool. Local vendors will be there too with some good eats, so come hungry. It's all happening Saturday, May 11th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Get your tickets early and get ready to chill. Speaking of things that chill, attention ice cream lovers of all ages. Get ready to let your sweet tooth run wild at the Springs Preserve's annual Ice Cream Festival. Indulge in your favorite creamy treats while enjoying live entertainment and carnival games. All this and more is happening May 18th at the Springs Preserve from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tickets to this event disappear faster than a gallon of Rocky Road at your little brother's birthday party, so get yours today at springspreserve.org. If you had to describe the philosophy of the Springs Preserve in one word, that word would likely be sustainability. From water conservation and LEED Platinum architecture to solar power generation and restored natural habitats, our entire campus is a living example of sustainable living. But more importantly, our staff, many of whom have been with us from the very beginning, live that philosophy, not only while they're here at work, but in every aspect of their lives.
The Springs Preserve is an amazing place to work. I get such a sense of gratitude every time I drive onto the property every morning as the sun is rising, just to be in this beautiful, beautiful environment that is so central to the history of Las Vegas and what this city is all about.
The longer Dawn worked at the Springs Preserve, distinctions between her workplace and the rest of her community became more apparent. Wasteful practices and inefficiencies in the operation and design of homes, retail spaces, and other facilities left her feeling more grateful for her workplace and motivated her to carry the message of sustainability home with her each day.
The work that I do here at the Springs Preserve and the time that I get to spend here really makes me feel connected to the environment. This is such a beautiful place, and it is such an amazing gift that we actually have this place to offer to the community to come and experience what it's like to live in the Mojave Desert, and to give them the tools that they need to, on a day-to-day basis, live sustainably and in a way that is conscious of our natural resources.
She suggests that the best place to start is to disconnect with our ubiquitous electronics and immerse ourselves back into nature.
Our brains are so connected to the electronics in our environment that they get exhausted. And for me, being out in nature is a way to sort of reset and recalibrate my brain and to feel connected to my environment and to feel connected to myself. The Springs Preserve is such an amazingly serene, natural place that is so close to the center of town, and it is such a surprise for people that you can come out here and you can really feel connected to the desert environment.
Then, needed changes in one's lifestyle and environment become more apparent and easier to make when viewed through this renewed, more natural perspective.
We really try to provide people with the tools that they're going to need to start to change their mindset about sustainability. That it's really not something scary that's difficult to do. That all it is something that we need to begin to get used to doing and create new habits, and then it will become the new normal. We are all incredibly fortunate to live in this beautiful desert home. And if we want to continue to live here the way that we do right now, really enjoying this beautiful environment, then we all have to work together to maintain what we have.
Earth Day is celebrated around the world on April 22nd, and a spring season noted as an annual period of renewal and new growth. Coincidentally, the Springs Preserve Botanical Garden blossoms quite literally, showing off to the world just how gorgeous a sustainable native desert landscape can look.
The Botanical Garden is just a beautiful place to see how plants can flourish in the desert. If you put the right kind of plants in, desert, adaptive, or native plants, you can really create an incredibly lush, beautiful environment that's really going to connect you to nature and the changing of the seasons.
In our harried urban lifestyles of today, time is something we feel we never have enough of. But once a reconnection is made with nature, priorities change and a recalibration takes place, compelling us to make a celebration of Earth Day a part of our everyday.
And that's really what sustainability is all about. So on a day-to-day basis, once you start to get into tune with nature, it just feels natural. You know, I mean, recycling feels natural. It might not at first, but once you get going, it becomes a habit and you can see the end goal. And I think that that's another thing that the Springs Preserve is really helpful with, is showing people what the result can be of really paying attention to the natural environment and making an effort to help it back to a more balanced state.
Our hugely popular butterfly habitat will be open for the spring season from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. through May 27th. So be sure to flutter by soon to get up close to these magical creatures. The schedule is subject to change based on weather conditions and special event availability. Admission to the butterfly habitat is $2 for value members, $3 for non-members. Bronze and above members receive free admission. All guests ages 2 and up must be ticketed. Follow all our flight plans by visiting our website at springspreserve.org or follow us on social media to be the first to know. It made sense in the beginning. Landscape the Las Vegas Valley with towering trees that offer much needed shade and always appreciated greenery. But it ends up we were fighting biology and setting ourselves up for the pollen apocalypse.
Yeah, the ones that are planted in Las Vegas that cause a lot of problems are mulberry trees, olive trees, pine trees, and ash trees. In fact, ash trees are our most commonly planted tree here in Las Vegas, and we've put a lot of these in our area that cause a lot of our allergy problems, unfortunately.
Why are these particular trees pollen problem children? It boils down to reproduction. These trees want to reproduce, and to do this, the male plants must move their pollen to female plants. And since they can't get up and walk around, these trees have come up with other methods of pollen delivery.
They put a lot of pollen into the air because they're wind pollinated. So what they do is they'll put a lot of pollen into the air in hopes that one of those pollen grains will land on an appropriate female receptacle on another plant. So billions of pollen gets put into the air.
Did that surprise you? Many of us don't typically think of trees when considering allergy and pollen sources. In fact, it's often those plants with large flowers that are blamed, but they're not our allergy culprits.
Plants that have large, showy flowers are pollinated by birds and bees and insects and those sorts of things. So those plants produce very small amounts of pollen, and they're sticky little clumps of pollen that are supposed to get stuck on an insect and travel around that way. So they do not put pollen into the air. So if you see a plant that has a nice big showy flower on it, you are not going to be suffering from pollen allergies because of that plant.
Determining if a plant or tree is male or female is a great start to help deter allergy problems, and checking with your local nursery is the best way to ensure you're getting female plants instead of male ones. But there are also a few visual cues that can help you spot male and female plants.
If you have a plant that flowers and then it produces a fruit, that is your female. Then you also have those plants that have flowers with no fruit, and those are your male. So chances are, if you have plants that have flowers that attract bees or other pollinators, those are the ones that are not going to really cause you problems, because the pollen is gathered on those specific insects or other animals.
When wind-blown pollen hits your nose instead of another plant, your body reacts to the foreign invader and you get allergies. Fortunately, allergy season in the desert is relatively short, between March and the end of May, with the occasional resurgence in the fall. These months are when growing plants are at their strongest and put a lot of pollen into the air, and they tend to be our windiest seasons too, making these allergy seasons pack a wallop. So what can you do when it's the time of the year for an allergen assault? First, make sure it's really pollen you're allergic to.
It could be dust, it could be dander, or it could be like dust mites. You can go to the local pollen tracker and it will tell you what's really high pollen in our area for that specific time. And then that way you can see what's really bothering you.
When pollen is on the wing, the dry desert air means the only thing that's going to get rid of it is a good rainstorm. So if pollen is your assailant, remember that there's no shame in taking cover.
Unfortunately, you have to generally keep your doors and windows closed, prevent air from getting in, and have a good filtration system in your home.
But for those allergy sufferers who don't want to retreat indoors, there is another option. Sure, no one can re-landscape the entire valley, but homeowners can make a major impact in their own yards. Plant flowering or fruiting trees over non-flowering ones. Make sure any native plants you own are not wind-pollinated. Finally, you can mow the flowering heads off pollen-producing grasses, and if you're serious about switching out sniffle-inducing turf for a less volatile landscape, you may be able to get some help.
And the other thing you could do is get your grass removed and replaced with a nice landscape that is full of showy flowers that will never produce pollen problems for you.
We do have a rebate program with SNWA to help get rid of some of the turf so you can plant things that wouldn't cause allergies.
Shoring up your yard against potent pollen doesn't mean giving up on beauty either. While not everything on display at the Springs Preserve Gardens are necessarily low allergen, there are enough ideas there, along with landscaping classes, that will prove inspirational should you choose to take your defense against pollen to the next level.
If you know going into this that certain plants are going to be great for not producing pollen, all the cactus, all the succulents, all of the great blooming shrubs and penstemons and springtime bloomers we have here, then you can see what's growing in Springs Preserve and you can implement that in your own yard.
Why do people like you love volunteering at the Springs Preserve? It's easy to see. As invaluable members of our team, our volunteers get to work with animals, educate visitors, work alongside real scientists, help beautify the grounds, get out of the office, work as a team, learn more about their desert home, promote sustainability, pick up a new gardening trick or two, connect with our city's history, cultivate community, and much, much more. And now you can be a part of our team. It's easy to join. Anyone aged 14 or older can fill out our online application form. Opportunities are available for individuals and groups for both short and long-term durations. Find the application and more info at springspreserve.org. We have a vest waiting for you. Known lately as a superfood due to their high levels of nutrients and antioxidants, blueberries are a great addition to a healthy diet. And late spring means our grocery store shelves will soon fill with these seasonal delights. Today, Chef Cicely creates a perennial favorite dish with these super little berries.
Howdy folks, my name's Chef Cicely and I am making some blueberry cobbler here at the Divine Cafe at the Springs Preserve today. So I've got a lot of different bowls and a lot of different stuff out. it's easiest to just lay it all out, and then it's gonna come together into a few bigger bowls and then ultimately into one beautiful baked dessert. I've got melted butter, and I've also got about a half a cup of sugar. Now for any of you who like to make cookies, this is gonna look very familiar. This is what you call creaming the butter and the sugar until the butter gets a little bit lighter in color, a little bit lighter, and a little bit fluffier. All right, so I'm gonna set this one aside and come back to it very shortly, because what I also wanna get going before I pull everything together is some lightly beaten eggs with, very simply, some vanilla. Ultimately, it's all gonna go together, so I'm just gonna give those eggs a really light beating, mostly just to get it homogeneous, which means it all looks the same, and that looks just about right. Now I've got a 1.75 cups of flour. I've got about a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna get a new whisk just because I don't want this to all jump together. Now from here, I'm gonna reactivate my butter sugar mix. And then in go my eggs. These all get mixed together. This lovely little mixture of moisture is buttermilk, so it's got a little bit of sourness to it. And I could add that in now, and then I could add in my flour, or I could stage addition both of them. That's what I'm gonna do. So stage addition means that I'm gonna put in just a little bit and then mix it together. Get that nice and mixed. Oh, and then I'm gonna switch gears, stage addition some buttermilk. Mix that together. You can see now it's starting to really come together. I've got a mess of fresh blueberries. This can be done with any sort of berries, particularly this time of year. Mix about just a 1/4 cup of sugar, and then here's a little trick. A tiny amount, maybe about a tablespoon of tapioca starch. As they break down, their moisture content is gonna mix up with the starch, and it's gonna congeal, and then it's gonna make it like a nice pie filling. And then I have some fresh lemon juice here, so I want a little bit of moisture in all those blueberries. It's gonna help the skins break down, and that looks perfect to me. So next step, and I'm gonna get it ready to bake. Fill all those guys up, and then the rest of them, get them nice spread. Even a thin layer you can build up with more blueberries if you'd like. These guys are pretty thick, so they're gonna spread out. I wanna just make sure I get enough to cover the bottom of the pan. And then, back to my mixture here. The way that I like to spread this out is actually to use an ice cream scoop. Get a nice little mound there. I can make my little cobbler biscuits as big or as small as I'd like. Perfect. Last but not least, I had a little bit of fresh nutmeg and a little bit of cinnamon, and I made cinnamon and nutmeg sugar. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of that over the top. And as these cook, that sugar is gonna melt and it's gonna make a nice caramelized top. This goes in the oven 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes, just until the top of these little biscuits are nicely golden brown. All right, fresh blueberry cobbler, individual little ramekins. Somebody can enjoy those by themselves, or beautiful cobbler biscuits. Can't go wrong with this one. I hope you come down to the Springs Preserve and dine with us at the Divine Cafe to have something just as delicious as this sometime soon. Thanks for joining me.
There's a lot more to discover, so join us next time here at the Springs Preserve, where exciting new attractions, newly restored natural habitats, allergy-free landscapes, and an everlasting celebration of Earth Day mingle to bring new life to Las Vegas.